As my late great friend Roddy Piper so adequately once put it, just when you think you have all the answers, I change the questions. This phrase really suits the Pittsburgh Pirates approach to the number one overall pick in the 2023 draft. A little under 48 hours ago, I hopped on here with a video right before the draft started, literally with about 10 minutes left to go, with breaking news that, according to multiple reports out of Pittsburgh, people in the know in the organization, and Vegas odds, which had him as a minus 110 favorite to be the pick, that the Pirates were going to use that top selection on Florida outfielder Wyatt Langford. And I wasn't against it. I gave my reasons why I think Langford's going to be a very good major league player, why he might not be a terrible pick. And I still believe it. I think he's got a lot of traits that translate to the next level in the big leagues, and I think he could be a hell of a ball player. However, I also stated that he was, in every sense of the word, the compromise pick. Pittsburgh fans would have rather had either of the two LSU players, whether it's Paul Skynes or Dylan Cruz. And I know their hands were sort of tied with Cruz because he did not want to play with the organization, and he made it loud and clear about that. So did his agent, Scott Boras. So they really wanted Skynes if they couldn't get Cruz. But if they couldn't get either and they weren't going to take either, then Langford would be that settle point that wouldn't be totally offensive to the fan base like Jenkins or Clark, the prep bats, would have been. However, it turns out that general manager Ben Cherington showed his hand, but in his other hand, he was really carrying the ace of spades. As it turns out, the team used that number one overall pick on one of the players that the Pirates fan base absolutely wanted, that will come to town, and that is Skynes. So bravo to Ben Cherington. Very, very good game of poker he played with the media. Good game of poker he played with even the Vegas odds makers. Very smart philosophy. Now, let's talk a little bit about Skynes. Why this is the right pick. First and foremost, you look at the guy just on the mound alone. 99 mile per hour fastball on the regular. Okay? Right now, at this very point, he is in the upper 1 percentile of fastest pitchers in Major League Baseball. Right now, and he has yet to throw a pitch in professional baseball. Okay? Dominated at LSU this year. Dominated. Okay? Keep in mind, he was the World Series MVP in the college ranks this year, not Cruz. Struck out over 200 batters for the first time in over a decade in college baseball, and did it in just around 122 innings. That is just under 2 strikeouts per inning. That is insane. He's also got a ridiculous slider as well. These two pitches are virtually unhittable at this point. And for those that are worried about him having to potentially get Tommy John down the road and being a risk for it, number one, nobody wants to see Tommy John. I get it, especially for a young pitcher. But in a lot of cases, A, Tommy John is not what it used to be. B, if we're basing that solely off the fact that the guy throws major heaters, okay, the angle that he pitches the baseball is very, very protective of both the elbow and the shoulder. And let's be honest here, we've seen gas throwers that pitch with the same angle that have had lengthy careers. Justin Verlander is 40 years old, still pitching at a strong level in Major League Baseball. Max Scherzer, 38. Now, Father Time is starting to catch up. I get it. And I know people will tell me Verlander did have Tommy John. Yes, when he was 38 years old and after 15 years in the league. Okay, eventually, maybe it will catch up to Skynes too. But these two players had very, very lengthy careers before health issues caught up to them. Okay? What makes Skynes really unique as a pitcher, too, is this guy played as a catcher in high school, in college some. So he has an intricate perspective of what the strike zone is, what the hitters are thinking, what pitches to throw and when. He knows how to paint that strike zone. This isn't a guy that just blazes 99 plus down the plate. Okay, he knows where to put it when. So this is a smart pitcher as well. He is also a workaholic. You're not going to have any problems with Paul Skynes. This is a guy who was a military child who went to the Air Force Academy for his first couple of years. He is the model citizen who Pittsburgh fans will quickly come to embrace. He is the model teammate. He is usually one of the first people in, if not the first, and the last to leave. He's the one that's working with teammates that may be struggling. He'll be the one that pulls the fellow pitching staff aside and say, look, let's go out there and work on a few things. Did that this year at LSU. When he was at Air Force, he would do that with some of the pitchers when he was in the bullpen. Also did it with some of the hitters, which we'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes, because this is not just a one-trick pony. That's the type of teammate you need. He's a guy who's always out in the community. And you listen to some of the things he said while Cruz is completely pulling the I'm not going to play for Pittsburgh card. Skynes' first words are, I want to win a World Series for this organization, or 2 or 3. He's in this for the long haul. You're not going to have a problem signing him. Now let's talk about the hitting. We mentioned pitching. If you want the numbers and those that want the numbers, I'd say right now he has a 75-80 fastball and a 75 slider. He's working on a changeup that I'd say is probably about a 55 at this point. It's getting there. It will be there. The control is good too. I'd say the control is in the 50s. Hitting-wise, Skynes won a Olerud at Air Force. They don't just hand that out to every jabroni that steps up to the plate. This guy can rake. Guy hit 26 home runs in 2 years in college as a hitter, and it wasn't even full time. This is a guy who pitched out of the bullpen. The guy hit 401 in one of his seasons at Air Force. Has a career batting average of 365. Has an OPS over 1,000. Has a OBP that I believe is in the high 3s, low 4s. Complete hitter. You want to make him a full-time hitter, the guy could hit 40 home runs and hit into 270s in the big leagues. I fully believe that. As is, I don't want to drop the name Ohtani because Ohtani is once in a lifetime. But if Pittsburgh wants to go that route with him, and we're seeing that more and more often, I believe. I think you're going to see a new trend where more people are going to want the dual, pitcher and hitter. It would not surprise me if Skynes winds up a 250, 2.60, 260 ERA with 200 strikeouts and hits 20, 25 homers a year and hits 270. I mean, it would not stun me at all. The guy has major power. I would say at this point he's got about, in terms of power, about 60 power, about 55 contact. Not going to steal bases. So if you're looking for somebody to swipe bags, that's not Skynes. But this man is everything that this organization needed, in my humble opinion. And suddenly, I look at some of their young pitching, and it's looking really, really good. With him, with Mitch Keller, I'm really fond of Quinn Priester, Anthony Solimento. Right now, if all pans out in the big leagues, that is a solid 1 through 4. And there are some others in the minors, like Michael Kennedy, who I think could wind up being really, really good. So, Pirates pitching staff looking like it's it. And I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Contreras just yet either. I'm not. Give it a little bit of time. So there's my thoughts on what the Pirates did with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Certainly can't go wrong with Washington, man, getting Cruz number 2. You trade Juan Soto, generational talent, and you wind up a year later drafting another generational talent in Cruz. And suddenly you take a look at that lineup, man. You take a look at that organization. You got Cruz. You got James Wood, who everybody and their mother says is the real deal. I mean, he was a stud that was quickly climbing the prospect ranks when he was with the Padres. He has become a top 10 prospect this year, and his ceiling is sky high. You got Robert Hassel. That outfield is nasty as nasty gets, potentially, for the future. So that's what you call a retool. It was a hard reset. And his team has lost Bryce Harper and Juan Soto, along with Trey Turner, in a span of, less than 4 years since they've won the World Series. But they seem to be just fine for the future, and their future is bright as bright can be. Max Clark goes 3 to the Tigers. Some people have been critical of it. Look, I don't hate Clark. I think Clark is a very, very talented young player. I mean, he's going to take the long road, but let's be honest, it's the Tigers. They're need the long road. This is a team that's quite a few years away from being competitive, and I think Clark could be part of that. Texas, man, talk about the rich getting richer. They're the winners of the Langford sweepstakes. Langford falls all the way to them. And this is already a damn good team as it is. You put Langford on there, I think that's the perfect organization for him to go to. So that's my views on what the Pirates did in the top 5 in the draft. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll talk soon.